Hello everyone, my name is Free Indeed, and today I want to talk about a topic that I believe is very prevalent in the world and in the church, and is something that is plastered all over the internet. You can't seem to get away from it, and that topic is pornography. Now, today I'm not going to be giving a full teaching on pornography or why you should be avoiding it or anything like that. Today I just want to give you a simple tool that you can use to fight against a pornography addiction if you happen to have that. I personally struggled with pornography for a very long time in my life, and I believe that many, many young men will be battling this in the future because it does not seem to be a problem that's going away anytime soon. So, I personally was exposed to it, I think when I was like 12 or 13 or something like that. And from the very beginning, I was just hooked. And I could not seem to break this addiction for years and years, no matter how hard I tried. And I totally understand if you are someone who struggles with it and you feel like there is no hope for overcoming it. I totally get that. But I want to be very clear. You can. You can overcome the sin. Now, as a Christian, I believe that we only can overcome sin through what Christ has done in our lives, right? He gives us the mercy and grace to overcome sin. We can't do it by our own power. And that is 100% true. So just keep that in mind as I go into what I'm about to talk about. Just know that I'm not telling you that you need to just try harder and you'll suddenly overcome sin. That is not what I'm trying to say here. But what I am trying to do is if you are someone who just chronically watches it, you just can't seem to break the chain, that chain of events that just leads to it. You have so many triggers and you're just always pulled into the sin. If that's sounding like you, well then this tool may be just what you need in order to break that chain and then get your freedom from this sin. Because sometimes all it takes is a little bit of a jump start, and then that is enough for you to finally break the addiction that you have. Now, this secret tool that I'm talking about is fasting. Fasting. This is also a topic in the church that I don't think I've ever heard a teaching on, is fasting. The two like big dark horses in the room, right? It's pornography. Nobody talks about that, and nobody talks about fasting. But fasting is so crucial for Christians. In fact, it's just like assumed that you should be fasting in the Bible. But if you look around America, you see that fasting doesn't seem to be something that's taught or encouraged, and you can see that by the physical appearances of people. Don't take that the wrong way, but you can just tell that nobody fasts in America. So we are encouraged to fast. We're commanded basically to fast. The Bible assumes that we fast. And all the early church writings, they just kind of assume that you're going to fast. So we should be fasting. And this fasting is so effective against addiction to pornography and lust, because what happens when you're fasting, and this is what most people don't even know because they've never done it, is when you're fasting, your body changes, your physiology changes, and your desire for sex actually goes way down. Now, I figured all of this out actually while I was in high school. I was a wrestler in high school, and I realized that while I was cutting weight, which is something that I had to do quite often, while I was cutting weight, while I was fasting to lose weight, my sexual desire was like totally not in my mind at all. I never had a desire to watch pornography while I was fasting for cutting weight. I never had a desire. I didn't look at women in any way, right? I didn't have any lust, because what happens when you're fasting is if you look at like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? The bottom of the rung is food, right? Is food and shelter, right? So if you take out the bottom rung, your desire to fulfill any of the other rungs will go way down. And sex is not on the first rung. It's like on the third or the fourth or something like that, right? So if you remove that bottom layer, your desire for sex will go way down. So I share all of this to just kind of help you to understand why fasting may just be the tool that you need to break free from lust. Because if you remove that bottom rung, then you can walk into situations where you may have been tempted by lust in the past, and you can walk through those experiences and then not have a desire. So, for example, if you go on your phone every night at 9 o'clock, right, and that's just like kind of like a trigger for when you watch pornography, right? Well, if you're fasting and then you do that same thing again, your body won't have the same response to the trigger, and that just might be what your brain needs, because those triggers, right, your brain has so many connections and so many different atmospheres and smells and all sorts of things that cause you to react in certain ways, that if you are able to walk in those situations again but be fasting this time, your brain will have a different reaction to those things. And it might just be the thing that you need to break the chain, right? And then what also happens is if you are someone who just has like no hope in breaking away from a sin, well, pray while you're fasting, right? The Bible, I mean, prayer and fasting are always like hand in hand. You can't really get fasting without prayer. There's really nothing in the Bible about fasting without prayer. Fasting and prayer is what the Bible calls us to do. In fact, certain demons are not able to be cast out without fasting and prayer, right? So we should understand that this demonic stronghold that so many people have in their life, which is a pornography addiction, may only be able to be broken by fasting and prayer. Now, I'm not saying that if you watch porn, you're like demon possessed or something, but just understand like where I'm coming from. That fasting is so powerful that it is required in order to do certain things in the Bible. So we should be participating in fasting and prayer quite often in our lives, even if you're not addicted to pornography. But if you are, this would be something that could help you in that. Now, how long do you have to fast if you're going to do this, right? Well, I personally start feeling the results of a fast. Like if you haven't eaten for like 16 hours, that's about when I start feeling the results of my fast. I start to notice that the way my mind is working is starting to feel different after about 16 hours. So when I was fasting in high school for weight cutting for wrestling, I would fast for like 3 or 4 days, right? But that, again, this all depends on your body and how much you can handle and how much weight you can actually lose, right? Because fasting, you're going to lose weight. So bonus points for you if you want to do that. But understand that your body will start to feel the changes of the fast after about 16 to 20 hours. And that's going to be when you start to notice that your lust, that your desire for pornography will actually start going down. So if you are someone who really struggles, you watch porn like multiple times a day, you might want to fast for like 4 or 5 days. But if you just need that push, right, to just get through the barrier, maybe just fast for 2, 3 days. And if that sounds hard to you, it's really not. Just get through the hunger period that happens like early on, and after you get through that first bout of hunger, you really won't feel hungry again until you're actually starving to death. And that takes a long time for most people, because most people are like high calorie people. So just understand that you will feel the difference very early on, and when you feel that difference, your desire for pornography will go way down, and that's the time to start praying and fasting, right? Now, like I said at the very beginning, this is not like just a help yourself thing to make yourself free from sin. I truly believe that Christ is going to be the only one who frees us from sin. But this fasting and prayer thing, it really shows God how serious you are about trying to overcome your sin. It shows God like, look, I don't want to be this way anymore. I am going to fast and I'm going to pray until you take this sin away from me, until you do it, right? And pray to God, and he will free you from sin, right? The Bible says that if we pray according to God's will, then he hears us, right? He hears us. And it also says that God's will in your life is that you abstain from sexual immorality. So you know that praying to be free from sexual immorality is in God's will. And if you pray anything according to his will, he will do it for you. So this is why I just cannot harp on this enough. This sin, this pornography sin that is so prevalent in the world today, this may just be kneecapping the church in a way that it has no idea. It's like people wonder why things aren't happening and why churches seem to be dying off. Well, this could just be the root of all of it. I'm not saying it is, but it could just be a player in the game, right? We need to start teaching that this is a horrible sin that we need to overcome. Now, if you are someone who struggles with pornography, as I was for years, I mean, like years and years, it felt like a decade at least out of struggling with it. If you are someone like me and you think like, I've tried everything, there's no way I can overcome this, it's like, I just want to be completely honest with you. You're wrong. There are ways to overcome sin. And first and foremost is to just get real with the Lord, get real with Christ and say, God, I don't want this anymore. I want you to take this sin away from me. I'm sick of falling into this and falling into despair and feeling ashamed of myself. I'm sick of it. I don't want this anymore. And it really just comes down to humbling yourself before God, saying like, look, God, it's not in my strength. I can't do it. And the best way to humble yourself is fasting and prayer. Fast and pray, and God will answer your prayer. He promises that he will if you pray according to his will. So do that. Pray. And if you need encouragement, leave a comment on my video. I'm always open to responding to people. I read just about every comment that comes through my channel. I don't respond to them all, but I do read them. And if you need encouragement, if you need prayer, I will pray for you. Absolutely. I will pray for you, right? Because I think that this topic is so important, and I'm so dedicated to trying to help people, right, in this problem. Because I mean, I work as a youth minister right now. I gotta be honest with you guys, like, I have to talk about this more often than I wish I did, because it is just so pervasive. It's so pervasive. And I just want to see people get freed from it, because I know how hopeless I felt. And I don't want other people to feel hopeless too. Just know that Christ can free you from your sin. You just have to humble yourself before him and let him do the work. So if you need encouragement, leave a comment. I'd be more than happy to respond and talk to you, encourage you, and give you advice. If you have any questions, I know I didn't go that comprehensive on all of this stuff, but if you have questions, just leave them in the comments, and I'd be more than happy to respond and encourage you. So thanks for watching. If you've never heard any teaching on fasting or prayer or anything like that, then I'd be more than happy to do a more extensive one on it. But if you haven't heard about this before, just leave it in the comments, because I don't think I've ever heard anyone talk about fasting and prayer, and I would love to hear what other people have to say about it as well. If you've heard someone else talk about it, if you have other resources that you think people should look into, feel free to leave that in the comments, and I'll look into them too. So thanks for watching.